Hello, everyone. Tony and Christine here from the Refinement, Not Retirement podcast to talk about the second part of our Southwest Florida trip, what I call the post-US election part. And I hope you can all see us and hear us. And I'll say hello here to Christine and give her a chance to say hello to you. Hi, Christine.
Hello, everybody. I can't believe we're just making this podcast after all that length of time. I hadn't realised how quickly it had gone since we did the last one, since the election.
Yes, the
Gosh,
last one was we were in Florida, of course. It was the 6th of November, and you and I were giving our reaction to the shock result that Trump had not only won, but won by something of a landslide, winning the Electoral College, winning the popular vote, and we just couldn't really believe it, could we?
no, we were a bit miserable, weren't we? Really, I don't know. I think we were just a bit down in the dumps and a bit shell shocked. I probably would think,
Yeah, we had a
is what
down
I'd
day. I
say.
remember I couldn't even play pickleball or couldn't enjoy it, and
No, I remember that.
the weird
So
thing we both sort of talked about was that how everyone was just going on around us as though nothing had happened. They weren't really
yeah,
talking about it, were
yes.
they? We
No, but in
were,
fact, we did decide that we weren't going to comment, but we did when we did go down to the pickleball courts. You remember, we sort of sheepishly stood there, and when we heard somebody talking about it, we kind of thought, well, we'll just earwig in, but we won't join in and comment. Just see what people had to say. So, yes, it was a bit surreal, really, wasn't it?
yeah, I think the interesting thing was that everybody was the same, really. I think people
Yes, I
people
think so.
people people were just, I think, scared to set out their position, except in a very few cases where they were wearing MAGA hats. In the area that we were in Naples, obviously we were in a gated community, which I think we've described before, a beautiful community called the Isles, where we rented, and it's a nature preserve, and everybody's happy, and they greet you as you go by always, and but they don't want to get into controversy. They're enjoying this part of their lives, and
Yeah.
because they're mainly like us in refinement, and they just want to have a happy time. They don't want to get into arguments with people, and therefore people don't really declare their position. That was just generally I think, what we experienced. So it was really, really weird. But we don't want to spend too much time at all now on the Trump situation.
No.
We've
And
been
we
trying.
soon moved on, didn't we? I mean,
We did, and we enjoyed our time there. We're going to talk a little bit more about the second part, the post-election part of our time there in a moment. But I think that, I mean, I've declared my position regarding Trump in past episodes. He's not my cup of tea. I'm not a left winger at all in any sense. I'm much more on the right, but I cannot understand how the Republican Party let this man just take their party over lock, stock, and barrel. And I've been trying in my own mind to kind of rationalize what the American people have done, and the only way I can really rationalize it in my mind is that I think most people have turned their backs on politics generally. People don't trust politicians anymore for good reason. We're the same here in the UK.
yes, we are.
And I think they probably thought, well, Trump is this, populist kind of guy who is anti-establishment. Let's just smash everything. And a good way of smashing everything is to appoint Trump. But I don't think they really understood the masses of the voters really, because they don't take an interest in politics like perhaps we do. I think they just didn't really understand what a risk he poses, not only to their country but to the world generally. So No, but I can understand voter disillusionment because I have it myself. I think people have come to realize that democracy, for all its good aspects, it leaves you feeling that you don't really have any power over anything and that your vote doesn't really make a difference.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, really, that's why it's never sort of, I don't have strong enough feelings because I don't get wound up by it because it doesn't make a difference. Whatever we do or say or feel, we have no control over these people. We can protest when people do protest, but at the end of the day, these politicians, they do what they want to do. And I think we just have to look after ourselves and not get too bogged down by the rights and wrongs and try and work out why a criminal, a leader of the biggest country in the world, is a criminal and has done the things he's done and gets away with it and continues to get away with it. But that's who they've chosen, and it's like they've chosen him, but they don't really think that he's done anything wrong, and if he has, they don't really care because it's not probably affecting them anyway.
Well, to give an example of what I was saying, I agree with you, but to give an example of what I was saying about people not being really on top of what's going on in the political world there, some of these programs, like the Jimmy Kimmel program, they did interviews the next day, uh, really to sort of test this idea of how much people really are across what's going on in politics. And they would go up to people and say things like, "What do you think about Biden winning the election?" And they would go, "Yeah, well, I suppose that's the way it is. Yeah, congratulations to him." And so they didn't know. I mean, and they had this
Oh
time and
God,
time and time again. This went
that is
on.
so ridiculous.
Um, but going back to the voter disillusionment point I was making, I've really felt it, and you probably remember this. I've felt it deeply in the UK, the post office scandal. We've
Yes,
just seen the inquiry. We've seen that bulldog of a barrister who's
and
done a great
closing.
job of representing
Oh, he's phenomenal,
sub
that
the
man.
sub
Wow.
postmasters, as was the barrister representing the inquiry. Beer, I think his name is. But this guy who was representing the stakeholders, the sub postmasters who were so badly treated. He's a real bulldog, and he gave a fantastic closing speech and just pointing out just how rotten the post office management has been, and the post office lawyers that were involved, putting people in prison for something that they didn't do when they perfectly well knew that everything was against them, or the post office on the argument side. And so, I felt that when I saw the program about the post office scandal here and realized just how terribly these people, these good people, salt of the earth types, had been treated, it just made me. You may remember I wrote to our MP, Tory Party MP here in the West Midlands, and said, "I'm never voting for the Conservative Party ever again." How you could stand by and let this happen. And then when you found out what happened, you aren't doing anything meaningful to get compensation,
Compensate or
take
help them.
compensation
Yeah.
to these people. I'm not going to vote for you again. I got the usual sort of BS back letter, telling us what great steps she felt that they were making. And I thought, and I could sit there, so what is the point? I mean, there is no point in voting in this area anyway. It's all going to go one way. And people probably on the other side of the fence, the left wing side of it, feel the same way if they live in those sort of areas. That you don't really have any influence over anything, really, do you?
No,
So
no.
anyway, that's enough of this miserable talk. Um, but he's been voted, as you said, Chris, he's been voted in by the American people. That's the end of it. We've got to get on, and let's just hope that he doesn't, kill us all through nuclear war or, whatever he's going to do. He's already embarking on his mass deportation plans, which sounds very similar to, sort of Nazi Germany, the way that's being pursued. But as I said, that's enough of that. So the second part, the post-US election part, once we'd got over that in our during our trip in Naples, we had a really nice time, didn't we?
Well, it continued, before it started, we always have a lovely time, and we just continued and got back on track with our happiness and enjoying ourselves, and just having the most wonderful trip. I think the home we rented this year was fabulous.
It was perfect, wasn't it? It was not
It
too
was
big. It was
just perfect. It was a beautifully maintained house, quite new. It had well, it was just lovely. A beautiful kitchen, beautiful living room, two lovely bedrooms, and two lovely bathrooms, and a great small pool, but perfect enough for a quick dip after pickleball, and then a lovely hot tub overlooking a very pretty lake and the wildlife, and the sunsets and the sunrises, and we were just in our seventh heaven, like we always are when we go there. We just fit back in. We know where all the shops are. We see old friends. They had two bicycles, which meant we could go cycling every day
and lovely
in the
cycling within
afternoons.
lovely safe cycling within the
Yes, well,
community.
it's
A lot of
flat,
it
isn't
not
it,
on
around the
roads.
lake?
You
Yeah,
could,
no roads really around the sort of
so
cycle
it was
paths of
heaven,
the
really.
lakes.
Yeah. And of course
Yeah,
we had the dual advantage of being able to just cross over the road 2 minutes to the East Naples pickle. I think they now call it NPC, Naples Pickleball Centre.
yes, that's right. The NPC.
Huge number of courts. You can play at any level.
64 courts,
Is it? Yeah, you
apparently.
can play at any level there that you choose to play, except if you want to play at 4-0 or above, you need to be approved. You need to be assessed and approved. We also had, of course, so that's the public courts, which I mean, it's a drop-in fee of $5 a time during the week. At the weekends, you can turn up and play for free, which is great. They're improving it all. They have the fantastic big tournament every year in March at that venue where we played,
Is
and
it? I thought it was April.
March or April, you may well be right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
uh, they are there's a new company taken over the management of that and putting millions into improving the centre even more, which is fantastic news. But we had access to all that within 2 minutes walk of our front door, and we also had within 10 minutes cycle ride of our front door. We had the community's own 14 pickleball courts, and they
Which
have
actually we did know about that. Just going back, I mean, we hadn't haven't featured that into our playing, because all we just kept thinking of is we were near the NPC. So it was a real added bonus, I thought, because we just went down there, didn't we? And because I think the last time we'd stayed there hadn't been a lot going on. I think a few people had been organising evening play and
yes,
that, but I don't think it had suddenly taken off like it had when we were here this time. So the community, and of course, because we're staying on the community, we didn't have to pay for that, and they had open sessions at our level, didn't they? 2, 3 times a week. So
yes.
that was a real added bonus. I loved it. We got to meet loads of lovely people and play
Yeah,
with
because the nice thing about
them.
that is you're in your community, so you get to know the people who are also
Yes,
residents in the community, whether they're renters or not. We actually met a couple of English people who were renting there, didn't we? Who we've met
yes,
before.
exactly.
And they had intermediate level pickleball for several times a week, and one at 4.0 level and above on a Friday, which I was able to go to because they weren't so strict as far as the level that was concerned. But I found that I could compete quite happily in that group, although probably I was one of the weaker ones. But it was that you're right. It was just really fantastic. But we also what else can we talk about our trip? Because we had the boating as well, which for new listeners who don't know this, we used to live seasonally, 6 months of the year, the winter months of the year, in this area of Southwest Florida, Naples. We had a home there, and we were there for 12 years, seasonally, half of each of those 12 years. And of course, we made great friends, and we learned all about the area. So it's an area that we know very well, like the back of our hands, really. And that's as we get older in life, that's just such a bonus, isn't it, Chris? You know, you're turning up and you just know where everything is.
Well, exactly. Yes, yeah, it was good, and we did boating a couple of times, and we were like we did last time, which was lovely. I had a couple of beautiful days out on the water, and in fact, I think I've ever seen it before. But we actually, when the first time we went out this time, as we went to enter into the river that goes out to the, we call it the river,
The Marco
the
River.
go, the Marco River that goes out to the Gulf. A manatee was just lolloping around there, blobbly blobbity bobbity bobbity, beautiful creature. And
Yes.
then, of course, the dolphins are there frolicking and leaping around. And we would go to our favorite little beach with a picnic, and I would shell and just walk and just watch the dolphins playing and the sun shining. I mean, just glorious it was.
It would
Really,
be.
really
I'm
lovely.
thinking it would be fun to maybe one year to have a group of people that we know from the pickleball community. You know, maybe come out and all together and experience it, and we could show them around. That would be fun. We
Yes,
on the
wouldn't
on the
it
but on the
just?
boating side that you've been talking about, we used when we had our home in Naples. We had a boat and we kept it on Marco Island, so we're very familiar with boating in the area as well. But obviously, we don't own a boat anymore because we only go there for a month at a time, probably once a year. And we found this great rental company on Marco Island called Dolphin Marina. And
Dolphin
they're,
Cove, I think,
sorry, thank
Marina.
you. You're quite right. Dolphin Cove Marina. Just share that with listeners because if you do get a chance to visit the area and and you fancy going out on a boat, they're a very professional company. Just need to produce your driver's license and sign in about 500 places on the documentation.
Yeah,
Uh,
without reading all the bits and bobs.
um, uh, but it's a really, the boats are well equipped, they're safe, the
It's a
briefing,
family-run business, which is
family
great.
run, and yeah, so uh, happy to share that piece of information. Marco Island is a beautiful spot for boating. As you said, we would go and have our picnic lunch on Coconut Island, which is at the mouth of Marco River. And then we would explore the intercoastal bits. You know, you can go down to, from Marco Island there, you can go, it's a lovely cruise to Naples, the Port Royal area, where all the swanky houses are, which you can get a good view of from the water. The best view, really, uh, that you can have is from the water. And so we did that, and we visited the famous beach of Key Waden, where we used to go when we had our own boat. And in fact, you can boat all the way around the island, uh, which is fun. So yeah, we listeners will also know that we're both vegans. Veganism is a bit of a challenge there, vegan eating in restaurants, but it certainly wasn't a challenge at home. And I think we've never eaten so much at home as we did this trip. Is that right, Chris? Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
I think that's right. But we had a few dinner parties, which was nice. We went out with friends for dinner and sort of managed to successfully get something to eat. But yeah, but because the kitchen was so lovely in this house, and we'd have quite energetic days really with pickleball and swimming and bicycling and out and about. It was quite nice just in the evening, just to sort of chill and have a glass of wine while cooking dinner, and yeah, and we were going to bed quite early, really, and because we were like waking up at like 6:30 every morning and going and playing pickleball early because of the heat,
Yeah.
not getting the heat of the day,
I
and
don't think I've ever
so
known
we
you
were
get up
kind
so
of.
early.
I don't think I've ever known myself get up so early. I'm not doing it now. I'm back home again, that's for sure. But yeah, and of course, then the evening we would be tired, so we were probably in bed by about 9, as they call it. Marco midnight is 9 p.m. And I certainly was ready for my bed by then, anyway. So that was quite. I thought it worked well.
It worked very well. We, of course, we found a couple of, well, one of the restaurants we've known for many years called 21 Spices, an Indian restaurant. Generally, anywhere you are in the world, Indian restaurants, if you're vegan, are usually a sure bet.
Yeah,
And 21 Spices is, it has a really great reputation, great atmosphere. It was probably less than 5 minutes drive from our house,
yeah, it was through the back
out
gate. It
through the
was good.
back gate, and so that was great. And we also discovered a much smaller, more modest Indian restaurant, but very, very good, called I Love Curry. Not much further, probably another couple of minutes further, but owned by a fellow pickleball player that we met at the Naples Pickleball Centre many years
A few
ago.
years ago,
He
wasn't
doesn't
it?
play pickleball anymore because he's so busy with his business. But that was great. We went there a few times and enjoyed it very much. We even took a couple from New York to join us there.
No, 21 Spices. We went with them because they
Oh, we
weren't
did because
open.
they weren't. I Love Curry wasn't open. Quite right. Yeah,
Yeah, because of
yeah.
the
But we
holidays. Because
nearly
it was.
took them there. We would have taken them there if we could have
Yeah, we
done.
would have done. Yes, yeah.
But we had a great evening with them. Uh, so yeah. So as we get to this point in this episode, as we draw it to a close, we really just wanted to tell you about the part two of our trip to Naples. But there was an exciting part yet to come, and I'm just about to tell you about that in a moment. But before doing so, I want to thank you for joining us today and for being part of our what I call, Christian will probably criticize me here, but being part of our final the final part of our life journey.
Ah,
I
stop
know, I
it!
know, I know, I know. But I mean that in a positive way. This part
No,
of
I
our
know, I
life,
know.
this part of our life, as you know, we call being in refinement, and we have made many life refinements which we've shared on this podcast before, and we some of the main ones that we talk about are indeed our pickleball life. Pickleball has been a huge sort of benefit to our lives. It keeps us mobile, it keeps us healthy. It, we have lots of pickleball friends who are just wonderful people. So pickleball is one thing. Our veganism is and travel. Those are two things which really I lump together because veganism is so much part of us. When we travel, we have to find out whether we're going to be able to eat anything where we go to stay in a
Yeah,
hotel and so on. So there's that. We talk on this other life refinements we talk about is like technology. We drive electric cars, and we're very passionate about that. We've talked in a previous episode about our robo vacuum cleaner, which was a more recent life refinement, and now more recently the use of AI, which I think is going to revolutionize the world. And we'll be talking more about all these topics and sharing, our experience of them with you. But what are we going to talk about next time? We want to really talk and keep our conversations as positive as possible, and don't want to talk about politics very much anymore, and certainly not about our dear orange wrecking ball friend across the Atlantic. But the final part of our trip this time, we got back on the 30th of November, by the way, and it's now about a week before Christmas, 2024. The final part of our trip at the end of November was we decided to spend 4 days in Disney World, also in the state of Florida, but obviously in the Orlando area. So we're going to be. We had a lovely time there. I was sum it up by saying that, but this was the first time. I think I'm right in saying, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. The first time we went as vegans. So we knew that
Oh yes, yes.
that was going to be a difference that we needed to think about. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our experiences over those 4 days, which were fantastic, and that will be the topic for our next episode. But again, have you got anything more that you'd like to say before I
No, don't
say
think so. No,
farewell?
I
Okay,
think we've
great.
said it all.
Good. So again, thank you very much for joining us and I hope you'll stay with us as our as we continue on, as I say, the final chapter of our lives together and on this planet.
I hope it's going to be a very long
I
chapter if
hope,
you keep talking
hope
about
it
it
will
being
be
our
a
final
very, very
chapter.
big chapter. I hope it
Could
will
be
be. It's been an
could be
exciting one
another.
already. So, but obviously, you know, one has to face up to the reality of our limited time. And so we do that, but we want to make the best of it. And having you along the journey with us helps us to do just that. So thank you for being with us, and
Yes, thank you, everybody.
we will see you next time. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.